Hi, folks. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Matt. I'm the tribe leader of the Nuclear Bombshells and the block warden, or whatever the official title is, of Good Neighbor. Right now, I'm tired. This week has been protests and driving heavy trucks, and it's taken a lot out of me. This video should have been out several days ago, but I had other things that had to take priority. So as a result of that, all of this was written before some of the latest developments on Wastelander Central. I'm not even up on all of them right now, but I think that everything I have to say is still going to be relevant. Now, this originally started out as a simple comment reply on Facebook, and in the process of writing out all of my thoughts, it quickly grew to 6,000 words. That was going to be too much for a comment, too much for a post, and so the only way I felt I could deliver all of this in one go was to sit down and record it, which means that it's taken a good deal more time than simply typing it up at 2 in the morning would have. Anyway, I've been going to Wasteland since 2012. In that time, the event has grown from 750 people to 4,500. And I would expect that 2021 is going to be at least 5,000 people. I've watched as Wastelanders and America in general have become more progressive over nearly a decade. I've watched the birth of the alt-right out of movements like Gamergate in real time. I've grown my tribe of misfits and rejects who were rejected at the cool kids table from a small handful of people renting a Ryder truck to a troop with 2 chapters, one in LA, one in Vegas, members all across the country, and an auxiliary irregulars group, literally hundreds of people. Our camp has grown from a few tents just clinging on to the edge of Legio 1, way out in the middle of nuclear winter at the old site, into the anchor point of an entire entertainment district for 8 tribes in a neighborhood that has its own municipal streetlights. I've always been proud of my crew and the other tribes of Good Neighbor, and frankly, I am slightly in awe that I wound up at the head of all of this. However, I am not part of Wasteland World Inc. I do not work for the company that puts on Wasteland. What follows are my personal observations and are lacking in lots of behind-the-scenes details of the larger Wasteland operation. I am not a professional performer, producer, community organizer, event organizer, set builder, anything like that. From 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I am just Matt, the web developer. There are dozens of folks in Vegas who could do my job, and I could do theirs. We could swap desks for a week, and nobody would ever notice. I've learned everything I know about a dozen different entertainment and performance-related skills because that was what I needed to help the Bombshells succeed. This troop, the Good Neighbor community, and the larger Wasteland community just mean the world to me. I've grown from working with them, and I've had an opportunity to make space for others to learn and grow and succeed, unlike anything I could have done anywhere else. One principle that I have always maintained is that I will not complain about something that I have not made an effort to solve first. The last time I stuck by that, Brendan and Alyssa came to my assistance, and instead of complaining about Wastelanders with inappropriate costumes, we made the Good Neighbor Welcome Center, where now any newbie can go, get a full set of Wasteland Basic, leads on missions, showtimes, and other things that help them go from being new and a little confused to actively involved and participating in the community. I've made an effort to put my own elbow grease into every problem that bothered me, and only spoken out when my best efforts have failed. This, sadly, is one of those times. As we sit in the middle of multiple crises, a plague that requires us to pull together to prevent the spread, a president turning paramilitary force on unarmed protesters for a photo opportunity, and the ongoing struggle of Black people to be recognized as equal citizens deserving of the same rights and protections as white people, it felt wrong to continue holding my silence. My crew has always been open to all races, sexualities, genders, body types, everything. Because my crew consists of potentially vulnerable people in varying states of undress, security has always been a big concern. Even above and beyond the Wasteland rules, we have policed our immediate community of followers to disinvite creepers, racists, chauvinists, and other predators from it. This continued in Good Neighbor. I try to err on the side of being overcautious and overprotective. Better to remove someone and have to apologize later than to not remove someone and have an innocent person get hurt or even just made uncomfortable to the point where they feel unwelcome. For the last 8 years, I have been doing something without complaining to make Wasteland a safer, more inclusive environment. For the last 2 years, I have been coordinating with members of management to share my personal experiences, open spaces for my crew to address their concerns to management directly, and help craft solutions to the problems that many of us have seen. After 2 years of direct involvement, those issues remain largely unsolved. I was mirroring Wasteland Management's style of dealing with problems in-house, not publicizing the details and waiting for the results. And that was a mistake. Silence is exactly what oppressors and predators want. It is tacit permission to continue operating as long as they stay just short of that line that gets them kicked out, or as long as they can intimidate people into silence. The fact is, I'm a middle-aged, straight white dude. I would not see a lot of these problems unless I went looking for them. A lot of bad actors know not to do anything in my immediate presence. They know not to do anything to someone who will report it back to me. Victimizers are looking for victims. People whose boundaries they can slowly push without the victim standing up to them. They literally hunt for people who are isolated, alone, with little or no clout in the community, who will not be listened to. The predators who can't do that get kicked out of every group they're in very quickly. It's essentially Darwinian. The better your antibiotics, the tougher the germs that are left over are. Over the years, I've developed nearly a sixth sense for spotting trouble. Just subtle things, word choice, inflection. Part of it is noticing patterns of behavior repeat across different people. If 5 different people who do A also do B, and then go on to do C, then when a 6th person does A, you're watching for them to do B so you can cut them off before they get to C. Part of it is keeping my head on a swivel. The 10 feet immediately around me, everybody is always going to be on their best behavior. But over there, across the street, not so much. And that's where keeping my eyes open has allowed me to circumvent or short circuit a lot of problems that might have progressed farther had they not been caught early. A third part of it is that people who are not straight white dudes come and talk to me. They feel comfortable talking to me, and I listen to them. I take their problems seriously, and I do everything in my power to deal with them. Frankly, I should not be the one speaking out on this video, but part of my job in the bombshells, out in the world at large, has been to repeat the words of other less privileged people in white dude. So here I am. I've spent the last several years using information gathered from all of these different sources to effectively operate an event within an event. Good Neighbor has its own rules above and beyond those of Wasteland. It has its own watch force, its own list of people banned from the camps, its own list of troublemakers to watch out for. Many of them were not reported to security. That's not for me to question. The people who come to me may want to remain anonymous. They may feel that their report is not something that rises to the level that security would accept or take seriously. Again, that is not for me to question. I write down the names. I share the super secret Good Neighbor security document with the other 7 tribe leaders of Good Neighbor. Ask leaders of other wards. Ask leaders of other long-running tribes. And I bet you will find that many of them do the same thing. Tribes are keeping secret lists because they don't feel management has their back, and that is a problem. Tribes are afraid to share their concerns with each other, and that is a problem. Secret Facebook groups dedicated to compiling racist and predatory things said by other Wastelanders are a problem. Telling people there's a procedure to deal with that and not telling them the procedure is a problem. Performers canceling on me because their rapist is at the event and I cannot guarantee that he won't be in the audience is a huge fucking problem that I deal with 2 or 3 times per event. Now, the first problem is that this event within an event creates something called missing stairs. It's named from a blog post by Cliff Provocracy. I will put the link down below the video. The short form is everyone knows about a person who's a missing stair and just steps over it. The problem is so prevalent and everyone has gotten so used to it that they just step over the missing stair and assume that everybody else knows about it and it'll be fine. Sooner or later, a new person who has not been warned about this missing stair walks upstairs in the dark and boom, falls down and gets hurt because they stepped where there was no stair. Everyone else asks, well, why did you step on the missing stair? But the new person asks the important question. Why the fuck did no one just fix the stair? I bet over half of you have a face of a specific person in mind right now, based on that story. If you're one of them, I want you to pause this video. I want you to open up your email, put security@wastelandweekend.com in the to section, and document what you know. Do it now. Send it now. I'll be here when you get back. If you're not comfortable attaching your name to it, make a new email account. Use an alias. I'll be right here when you get back. The fact that I can name one missing stair at Wasteland would be a problem. One widely known predator in a crowd of 5,000 is too many. A quick glance at my Good Neighbor security document turns up more than 5 that are widely known, including several people who qualify as Wasteland famous. Now, I'm not trying to wave that around like Joe McCarthy's list. If anything, I'm saying the fact that I have had to keep this list points to a big problem in its own right. The fact that 2 people contacted me with names to add to that list while I was writing the first draft of this video means that the scale of the problem is larger than what I realized when I sat down to write it. Now, the second issue, as I see it, is that these lists exist because the security procedures and criteria for intervention are poorly publicized or are publicized with a bar that the potential reporter's account doesn't clear, or people who have a report to make are afraid of being outed to the person who preyed on them by someone in either security or management. This leads to a pretty major case of underreporting. Now, I want all of you to play along at home here. You're at Wasteland. It's 11 o'clock at night out in Tent City. It's dark. It's quiet. There's nobody around for at least 20 yards. A friend comes running up to you and tells you that she was cornered and groped by someone who she knows just right around the corner. What do? Do you believe her? Or do you tell her, either through your words or your attitude, that it's not that big a deal? Do you question what she may have done to encourage the person? Do you ask her if she wants to report it? Do you tell her she has to report it? Do you do neither? If she doesn't want to report it, do you report it? Do you think your account will be enough for security if you include the names of both parties? What if you keep your friend anonymous? Is anyone in the security tent when you're reporting a friend of the person she's accusing? Will anyone in the security tent tell a friend of the person she's accusing? Is the accused someone who contributes to Wasteland? Are they a supplier, a block warden, a stage manager, or some other position of trust that would be difficult for management to replace? Does security factor that into their decision or not? Does your friend need a restraining order, an arrest report, or similar to report it to Wasteland management? If it happens away from the event, what email address would you send that report to if it was away from Wasteland Weekend? Who has access to that address? Are any of them friends with the person she's accusing? You may notice a theme here. How long are those emails stored? Are they encrypted? Are they deleted? Are they archived after the issue is resolved? Or is there just one big inbox? Are you really sure that no friend of the person she is accusing will ever in the future be a member of Wasteland Security in a position to read that email and expose her as the one who made the report? Does your opinion of whether and who should report and how change if she is a he? Does it change if he is black? Does it change if she is trans? Now, having gone through all of those, unless you're someone who had an answer ready for all of them, are you really surprised that Wasteland has an underreporting problem? If you've been around long enough to know experienced Wastelanders like me, you know you can ask them to find these answers out for you. I can get the answers to all of these eventually. If it's your first year, finding the information goes something like this. Step 1, go to the Wasteland Weekend website. Step 2, mouse over the FAQ/rules page, tab, and click on the rules menu. Step 3, scroll down to item 4, harassment policy, which reads as follows. Harassment policy. All members of the Wasteland Weekend community have the right to be treated with and the responsibility to treat others with dignity and respect. Wasteland Weekend is intended to be a safe space for all participants. Wasteland Weekend is a private party, and our online groups are not open to the public. Your attendance at one of our events and your membership in our online community can be revoked at any time at the discretion of our staff for any reason, with or without notice. Our most important goal is the safety and enjoyment of our attendees. For more information, please refer to Wasteland Weekend's official harassment policy, which is linked. We'll come back to our online groups are not open to the public in a minute. Step 4, click on the words harassment policy, and it will take you to a PDF, which I have also linked below. I was going to read some of that later, but this video is going to be too long already. For right now, just consider that it took 4 steps to get to here, and we still haven't gotten to the actual procedures. We are 2 or 3 links deep on a web page that most people only skim, since they've been brought into the culture by a friend who catches them up on the details in Wastelander Central. They don't necessarily feel the need to exhaustively read the website. As a web developer, I can tell you that 75% or more of the people holding tickets do not see that PDF. Saying they should have read every word and clicked every link on the entire website before coming to the event is in effect blaming the victim. It is the responsibility of the event staff, and only the event staff, to ensure that every single person who comes through the gate and who joins the groups knows what sort of behavior is unacceptable, what the consequences are, how to report a problem that they have witnessed, and that they can feel confident that action will be taken to protect everyone on site or in the groups from bad actors. Now, let's go back to our online groups are not open to the general public for a minute. A quick check of the number of members in Wastelander Central will show you that it is about 5 times the number of people who go to the Wasteland Weekend event per year. It's common wisdom among the old-timers that online Wasteland is not real Wasteland. In fact, it goes so far beyond common wisdom, it's more of a fundamental rule of Wasteland reality. Wastelander Central is a mess. We know it's a mess. If you've been on there for more than a day, you know it's a mess. Saying it's a mess is a different way of saying that it is full of missing stairs. Members of more friendly groups like Wasteland Basic Training work overtime to shunt people away from Wasteland Weekend's official Facebook group so that they can get productive information instead of toxic bullshit. Because when someone comes in and asks an honest question and gets toxic bullshit, they don't show up. In the process of shunting people away, we are enabling the toxic people in Wastelander Central while acknowledging the effect on their community is driving people away. We know who the problem is, and we know the effect they're having on people, and we are enabling them. I'm going to say that one more time. We try to protect the good people from the toxic behavior of bad actors by moving the good people away from Wasteland Weekend's official resources. We enable toxic bullshit by giving it space in Wasteland Weekend's most active, visible interface with the outside world. Yes, that's online Wasteland, but that's how things start. We are teaching people before their first day at Wasteland that the toxic people are welcome and you are just going to have to work around them. Seriously, sit with that for a minute. Sit with that for 15 seconds. I'll wait. Can you think of a time you made excuses and pulled people away from Wastelander Central, or away from reporting to security, or away from a by-the-book policy because you believed, rightly or wrongly, that nothing would be done to fix the core problem? Did you personally take responsibility for protecting someone because you thought that the staff wouldn't? What made you feel that way? were you shown to an unofficial group before your first year as a way of making up for the toxic behavior of the official one? I have done all of these things to protect new members of our community. And I am willing to bet that many of you have too. So now let's get back to the harassment policy PDF. Originally, I had a big section in here that was going to go line by line and compare the harassment policies of Wasteland Weekend and New York Comic-Con. It was dry, it was technical. Links are down below. Go check both of them out. I just want to mention two details here. First, New York Comic-Con's policy is not just on their website, but on large, clearly visible signs throughout the event. And second, that they have an app that allows you to file your incident report, and security staff will come to you to talk to you in person. The link to that app is on a QR code on those signs. All of the resources you need are never more than a handful of yards away from where you're standing at the event. You don't have to remember something you read on the website months ago, or try to find the security tent at 3 a.m. in the dark from the middle of Tent City on your first year. One of the things that makes Wasteland unique, or at least different from a convention, is that the primary attraction is not the main stage or the paid entertainment. Like Burning Man or some Renaissance fairs, or even a poker table at a Las Vegas casino, the real attraction is the people and what they bring with them. As a ticket holder, you're both a consumer and a producer of the main attraction of the event. You and I make Wasteland the thing that you and I buy tickets to. If anything, I think Wasteland is more like the SCA. Sure, there's no annual membership, but Wasteland is a community that is thriving year-round, with groups all over the world, that has a few big annual events. And instead of paying dues, we buy tickets. To steal my own catchphrase here, Wasteland is of the people, for the people. The vast majority of what goes on is provided by volunteers. And if there is one thing I have learned in 10 years of running an all-volunteer organization, it is that volunteers vote with their feet. If their appeals to management fall flat, they leave. They go volunteer somewhere else that's more the kind of place they want to be at. For me, that's often been a good thing. The bombshells stand by our principles. People who have a different idea of what we should be or what they want to do would be happier somewhere else and are welcome to go do that with no hard feelings on any side. It would be a lot less proud of that if the reason people were leaving was because we were failing to remove racists and predators in our ranks. Because the people make the event what it is, I think they rightly expect the corporate side of Wasteland to act as more than event producers. Wasteland World Incorporated isn't just the landlord. They're not just the company that hires portos and medical aid. They're the arbiter of who's in town, who's on stage, what camp is near what activities are acceptable, and who is welcome in the online community that runs year-round. At the moment, those decisions look from the outside to be made in an opaque, top-down fashion. Legally, that is entirely their right. But I think it is also part of the reason that there is an enduring friction between parts of the community and Wasteland World Management. Every single person at the event is seen as being there with the express permission of the event organizers. And because of some of the official wording we discussed earlier, I feel that is accurate. This is a private event, not open to the general public. Every person at Wasteland Weekend, every person in Wastelander Central is there with the express permission of Wasteland World Incorporated. The moment a dog whistle, link below, dog whistle like a Gadsden flag, that's the don't tread on me flag, or a 3% or a thin blue line goes up at the event, that flag is seen as operating with the express consent of Wasteland World Incorporated. If a camp is asked to take down their Confederate stars and bars, which is specifically banned the last time I remember to check, but no other action is taken, that sends the message that the public appearance of not being racist is more important than policing the behavior that the symbols are indicative of. If someone is walking around with Nazi tattoos, which now sadly includes some Norse runes, that sends a clear message to non-white members that people who would literally kill them on the spot if given the chance are expressly allowed at this event by Wasteland World Incorporated. These are acceptable customers by their very presence. When a tribe goes out and performs a bit involving rounding up women, putting black bags over their heads, parading them single file back to camp, and staging a mock execution with machetes as light entertainment, that is seen as an appropriate activity supported by Wasteland World Incorporated. All of these things are happening at a private party where the host has claimed sole discretion over who is allowed in, and these people have been allowed in. So what happens to the queer kid from West Virginia who saw one too many wolf rune tattoos for comfort and saw a vendor selling Nazi replicas? God, I hope those were replicas. What happens to the woman who can't get on stage because the thought that her rapist might be in the audience fills her with a gut-level dread? Or the abuse survivor who witnessed a fun, lighthearted kidnapping and execution? What happens to the African-American couple who drove from Alabama and wind up facing down a military truck with a Gadsden flag, Charlottesville tiki torches, and the words Death Squad on the doors? What happens when Wasteland has an official actress for Toast the Knowing, the wife of color of Immortan Joe, and is asked to share the stage with another signature character being portrayed by an overt racist? Well, not to put too fine a point on it, those people don't come back. And that's a process that has been going on slowly, quietly, for years. It's great to give people a chance to grow, improve, outgrow their previous bad behaviors. But the place for that is not an event full of high passions, intoxicants, large areas of empty darkness, and vulnerable people. That is a recipe for trouble. I made a simple post on Facebook a few days ago that started all of this off. Nazi Wastelanders, fuck off. On this post, restricted to my friends, I had over half a dozen people who either had left or were considering not returning, who expressed dismay that nothing was being done. That is the entire reason for this video. I started out wanting to say a few words to Jared's original Black Lives Matter post. My comment grew beyond the size of a Facebook comment. Then it grew beyond the size of a post. Now, at about 6,000 words, it's becoming a video. Those people who commented those things on my post are not people looking for an excuse to be offended. They are people who want to participate in the Wasteland community, but literally do not feel safe at this event. Okay, here's the part that we don't talk about. When those 5 people leave, 5 tickets go up for sale next year. Who buys those tickets? They don't. Their friends don't. The people they told about their experiences with bigotry at Wasteland don't. It's going to be one of 3 types of people. People who have had the presence of predators and racists downplayed to them at Wasteland. Those who are willing to tolerate Nazis, racists, and abusers as the unfortunate price of having their dress-up party. A category that I fell into for the last 2 years. Or a new generation of predators and bigots brought in by their friends who have been driving people away for years and are still coming back. Those are the people who are replacing the ones that we actually want at this event. There's a story that a lot of punks of a certain age can relate to the point that while it is based on true events, it is effectively a parable that we've all been down. From Twitter user Puckett. One of my favorite bars refrained from telling a Nazi skinhead to leave because he said he wanted just 1 beer and would be on his way. That ended with hiring active duty and former servicemen as security, specifically to send this guy and his friends on their way. It culminated in 20 Nazi skinheads attacking the bar in a massive brawl. And here's why. It's never just one Nazi. 1 becomes 6. 6 becomes 20. The only reaction that prevents Nazis from being a problem was not letting them in at all. At all. Ever. The only response after that was physically removing them, whether we did it ourselves or hired outside security to help. End quote. I understand wanting to help people do better. The bombshells were basically founded on that. We exist to give people who have been passed over elsewhere a chance to shine. It is a great goal. It is a noble goal. As leaders, we cannot place that goal above safety. When we let a rapist into the event so we can help him do better, we're telling everyone that his redemption is more important than his victim's safety. When we let a racist into the event, we're telling every person of color that his redemption is more important than their safety. Everyone from tribe leaders up needs to decide which is more important. The safety of everyone who comes to the event or the redemption of a handful. I am all for helping people, but I will not do it at the risk of a single person in Good Neighbor. There are 360 other days a year that I can reach out and give someone space to grow without putting other wastelanders in the line of fire. The fact is that people only change their behavior during times of upheaval and transition in their lives, or when you give them no other choice. Most of the time, trying to help is enabling them to hone their techniques at not getting caught. Telling someone they can't come back to Wasteland until they build a solid reputation for doing better, not trying, doing better, is more likely to motivate change than offering a helping hand. The latter just encourages problem people to play nice with management, use that line of communication to develop their influence and credibility, and keep doing what they were doing out of sight. Remember, predators are good at this. The ones who aren't are already in jail. Wasteland already missed their chance to take a no Nazis, no predators, no racists, no sexists ever stand. And all of them got in. Like it or not, both sides whisper under the table that people who delight in hurting others are welcome at Wasteland Weekend. And now it's going to take exponentially more effort to get rid of them. Do I have some ideas for that? Sure. Fucking of course I do. They're the same ones that I've shared on my feed and that I've shared face to face with Wasteland management over the years. Talk to community leaders about who they are treating as a problem. Compare notes across tribes. Make reporting and policy easier to access and more transparent. Involve women, minorities, and members of the LGBT plus community in the discussion, in the reporting pipeline, and in the decision-making process. People who feel unsafe now deserve voting representatives in the process of deciding what we're going to do to make this event safe for them. These people have a different daily experience from management. They have a different daily experience from middle-aged white guys like me. They have an experience that needs to be heard, that needs to be listened to, that needs to be respected, and that needs to factor in to what we do next. Don't just go to tribe leaders. The time and expense of running a tribe and of hauling equipment back and forth means that tribe leaders correlate to people with privilege in the real world. And in fact, to people from Southern California in the real world. People from Southern California with privilege in the real world. Take a stand loudly and publicly. I'm calling on Wasteland Weekend to take a stand loudly, publicly, without corpse speak, against people who would make Wasteland Weekend an unsafe place. Draw a line in the sand right now and remove anyone who crosses it even once from the community. Let them learn to be better people somewhere else, so that process won't unfairly impact the vulnerable members of our community. Clean house from top to bottom with no preferential treatment. And once it's clean, keep it there. It will always be work. There will always be something new to learn. You will have to admit that you are wrong, and you will have to do it in front of people who respect you. But admitting you're wrong and taking action to change and do better is worth more to those people than standing your ground and trying to handle the problem quietly. I think with over a year to go until the next Wasteland Weekend, it is achievable to clean house and put the necessary systems in place to make the event safe and welcoming to everyone who shows up. It will take a budget, so money. It will take at least half a dozen people working at least part-time the entire time between now and next Wasteland. It will take the cooperation of management. It will take community leaders taking a stand. It will take reaching out to voices not normally heard. And it may take a machete or two, but it is achievable. A lot of things are up in the air in the world right now. The country's in crisis. The country's in several crises. I'm sure there will be a new one tomorrow. The thing about times of instability is that they knock loose things that were otherwise immovable. This is the time when long entrenched assumptions and practices are subject to change. So let's change things. I'm going to make 2 predictions about Wasteland 2021 today, over a year in advance. First, it will sell out. Whether it's 3,000 tickets or 5,000, all of them will sell. Second, there will be a mass exodus of old-timers. Either there will be a mass exodus of old-timers because management gets rid of all of the bad actors and missing stairs in a way that is transparent, shows no favoritism, and invites community involvement, or there will be a mass exodus because the good people and the vulnerable people who are no longer willing to tolerate an unsafe event leave. If the former doesn't happen, the latter will. That is not me making a threat. That is my analysis of the group dynamics that are in play right now. Wasteland World Incorporated gets to decide which group they want to keep and which one they want to lose. But keeping both is not a thing that is going to happen. I have spent 8 years of my life building a reputation for getting shit done and looking out for the vulnerable people. And I have spent 8 years building up my clout and my social capital. And this is the moment I'm putting it all on the line. All of that goodwill, put it into this. Ignore me for all I care. But get more people who aren't old white dudes involved in building the solution to a problem in the community, like a community with members of the community. Black Lives Matter, of the people, for the people, power to the people.